She survived the impossible. Mary Webster was hung for witchcraft and lived.
Before, I was not a witch, but now I am one.
Thank you for watching Haunted Road Media's Friday Night Ghost Frights. I'm author and ghost historian Mike Ricksecker. Explore with us. Mary Webster became known as Half-Hung Mary, the witch of Hadley, Massachusetts, who in 1685 survived a hanging less than 10 years before the Salem witch trials. Hadley rested up the Connecticut River from Springfield and, like Salem, was a Puritan town and religiously pious. When hardship and poverty soured Mary's demeanor, the townspeople began to call her a witch.
I was hanged for living alone, for having blue eyes and a sunburned skin, tattered skirts, few buttons, a weedy farm in my own name, and a surefire cure for warts.
She was accused of cursing the cattle and of making people sick, among other things. A scar upon her body from boiling hot water became recognized as the witch's mark, the mark, it's claimed, the devil puts upon his witches. In 1683, Mary was examined by the Northampton County courts for witchcraft, but they decided that they couldn't handle the case and sent it on to Boston. Could the big city courts handle the accused witch?
At the end of my rope, I testify to silence. Don't say I'm not grateful. Most will have only one death. I will have two.
She was jailed there and indicted for not having the fear of God in her eyes, as well as her mark. But just over a month later, she was acquitted and she returned to her home in Hadley. But her witch trial had just begun. A year and a half later, a prominent Hadley man known as Philip Smith grew ill and decided that Mary Webster was to blame. He even wrote Cotton Mather, who was later notorious for his involvement in the Salem witch trials, of his affliction, which seemed to be supernatural in nature. Vials of Smith's medicine mysteriously emptied on their own. He would go into spasm and fits in bed, and when others would hold him down, they would hear scratching in the bed and they saw fire on top of it. Others also claimed that they saw something as large as a cat in the bed with Smith. Was Philip Smith haunted or cursed? When Smith finally died, his body strangely swelled on one side. His back was also covered in bruises and several strange puncture marks that looked like they'd been made with an awl. Also odd was that he died on a cold Saturday and his body was still warm on Sunday afternoon. On Monday, blood began running down his cheek and people heard strange noises coming out of his room. Cotton Mather wrote that the death of Philip Smith filled all those parts of New England with astonishment. It was before Philip Smith died, however, that Mary Webster was hung.
Up I go like a windfall in reverse, a blackened apple stuck back onto the tree.
A group of young Hadley men went after Mary Webster, believing that by doing so they could ease Smith's pain. Thomas Hutchison wrote in his history of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, a number of brisk young lads tried an experiment upon the old woman. Having dragged her out of the house, they hung her until she was near dead. They throttled her up in the tree for some time, let her down, then rolled her around in the snow for a while, buried her in it, and left her for dead. They were amazed when they later discovered that she had survived and Philip Smith had died.
Before, I was not a witch, but now I am one.
Mary Webster was dubbed Half-Hanged Mary and lived on for another 11 years, continuously ridiculed and persecuted as a witch. Thanks for watching Friday Night Ghost Frights. If you haven't yet, please go ahead and subscribe and check out our other witch videos on the side. I'm Mike Ricksecker. Until next Friday night.